Alright, this is the second part for the test review, questions 21 through 40. We'll start off with 21. The equation y equals 2x plus 3 is graphed. This graph is shifted up 3 units. So we go to the y-axis and go up 3 units. 1, 2, 3. So now, instead of saying plus 3 and went up 3, now that becomes plus 6. Alright, let's go and find that real quick. There it is. Which of the equation represents a line have a slope of 7? Again, the number in the front of the x, that's your slope. Nope. Yep. Nope. Yep. Passing through point -1, -4. To find the points, I got to go to the calculator. So I'll try this one first. Alright, I'm looking for point -1, -4. That's not it. Let's try D then. -1, -4 is D. Also, you can plug this into the x, plug this into the y, and see if it works out. Same thing. For f of x with ax minus 2, then the range is the domain. Okay, so again, this just means y equals. So again, I'll just go right here, plug it in. 8x minus 2. And go to my table. When the domain, when I grow up, I want to be a doctor. That reminds me the domain is the x. When the domain is 0, when x is 0, the range is -2. When the domain is 1, it's 6. When it's 2, it's 14. And when it's 3, it's 22. Answer is A. This line passes through which of the following points? Again, if they want us to find the points, we're going to look at the table by using a calculator. So go y equals 2/3 x minus 4. And just look at the table. Okay, -1, -6 is not there. 0, -4 is there. 2, 3 is not there. 5, -12 is not there. The answer is B. Write an equation of vertical line that passes through points 5, -5. Now, we talked about vertical lines already. They're either going to be x's or y's. So, let's take a look at the x. Go to -5. When you get to -5, there's a notch there. Extend it. Is that a vertical line? Yes, it is. So, it can't be these two. Now, this vertical line has an x of -5. This x is not -5. This one has an x of +5. This x is a +5. The answer is D. Can't graph the equation for y equals 4x plus 3. If he shifts the graph by changing the y-intercept to -3, but leaves the same slope, the graph will. Alright, so we have y equals 4x plus 3, and I'm changing the y-intercept. That's this number. So everything else stays the same. But this number becomes -3. What just happened? Well, the new y-intercept is -3. So obviously, it went down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units. So keep the same steepness. That is correct. The slope is the steepness, and the slope stayed the same. But they cross the y-axis at a different point. They do cross the y-axis at a different point. Is steeper? No. Exactly the same? No. Have nothing in common? No. Answer is A. We're looking for a line that has a slope of 1/3. The slope is the number in front of x. Nope. Yep. Nope. And a y-intercept of +9. Now that looks really pretty, but that's -9. This one's a +9. So don't be tricked by going for the one that looks right. Check all 4 of them. You realize this one's actually correct and that one's not. This says you have -7 and you're going to divide 0. You can't divide something 7 times. There's nothing there. You can't divide it. You have 1/2, you're dividing 2, taking 1 piece out of 2. This is taking 7 out of nothing. You can't take 7 out of nothing. We call that undefined. Denominator can never be 0. The top one can, the bottom one can't. Which one is not? Again, whenever they say points, you're going to think calculator. So y equals 2/3 x plus 4. Alright, 0, 4, that is there. -3, 6, That is not there. 6, 8. That is there. 7, 10. That is not there. Which of the following points is not on that line? Let's see if I did it correctly. I did. And the answer is B and D. They're both not there. That should be R, not is. Alright, we have a line passing through this point and this point. What is the slope? Again, the slope is the rise of the run, but the slope is also y minus y over x minus x. So you take this table, you slap it, it falls down, it looks like this now. You just put a minus sign in between. All I did is subtract the y's from each other and subtract the x's from each other. And if you get that, that gives you the slope. So take the whole thing, switch it over here, 3 minus 23, 1 minus 5. Then do that in the calculator. Alpha y equal to answer gives you the fraction. 3 minus 23, 1 minus 5. Slope is 5. What is the y-intercept? In order to find the y-intercept, you want to go all the way back to 0. And we could do that pretty easily. We have 1, 3, 5, 23. And we know the slope is 5. That means they go back by 5s. So if you take 3 minus 5, you end up with negative 2. Is the point. Every time they say point, you got to think calculator, check the table. So we have the slope is 5. We have the y-intercept is negative 2. So now I go to my calculator. And you look at the table, and look and see if 313 is there. It is. Alright, this is no correlation. It's not going upwards, they're not coming downwards, they're all over the place. When you solve, you always do parentheses first. Parentheses means multiplication. We're going to multiply these out. That gives me negative 45x minus 35, because negative 5 times 7 is negative 35, equals to 100. You start multiplying here, you end right there. Once you get to this point, you have a multiply, divide on top of the letter, and add and subtract on top of the number. This is a minus 35, so I'm going to add 35. That's the opposite of minus. I end up with negative 45x equals 135. And now this is multiplying, so I'm going to divide. (135) divided by negative 45 is negative 3. You have an amount of water in a bathtub and how long the water has been running. So if here's your bathtub and the water is coming up, as time goes, the water comes up. That's a positive for association. I'm sorry. Whenever the water keeps coming down, as time gets bigger, the water keeps moving upwards. So more up is positive. Which of the following describes the temperature? Which of the following describes the graph below? The temperature stayed the same all day. It would look like that if it did. The temperature fell in the morning. That doesn't look like falling. It stayed the same. The temperature The temperature rose in the late morning, then fell at night. Okay, in the morning it stayed the same. Late morning went up, and it fell at night. I like that. That looks right. Alright, domain and range. Again, when I grow up, I want to be a doctor. Now what happens if they make it lie on the floor? It's the same thing. The first one is the x, the second one is the y. So the range is the y, which is 0, 50, 100. Is it 0, 300 or 300 to 0? No, it starts off with 0. It ends with 300. So it's B. Be careful, they're just trying to be tricky. What is the independent, dependent value? I'm a doctor that wears his ID. Independent is X. That's the boxes of candy. Independent variable is the boxes of candy. And I don't know what that is. Alright, Kirsten recorded the time she spent reading, the number of pages she has read, the data below displayed on a scatter plot. Okay, wonderful. Based on the data, predict the amount of time it takes her to read 50 pages. Okay, this is 50 pages. She didn't get that far. If I take all these dots and squish them together, I can make a trend line. And the trend line says, be around here somewhere. Somewhere like that. Be either 40 minutes, 35 and 40. I'll go with this one. If you use an actual ruler, you can tell a lot better. The last one for the second video is solve for y. So again, I have 3y, that's normal, but I have parentheses, which means multiply. And outside there's a negative sign. So negative times 5 is negative 5y. And negative times 6 is negative 6. Stop multiplying. Equals negative 10. Now these two are the same, so we're going to combine like terms. If you have 3y, take away 5y, you have negative 2y. Now we're going to get rid of the number first by adding or subtracting. It's already subtracting, so I'm going to add 6 to both sides. That gives me negative 2y equals to 4. And it says multiplying and dividing. It's already multiplying, so I'll divide by negative 2. And the answer is y equals negative 2. Alright, good luck on the test.